Good evening. Hello. Happy Wine Wednesday. It is 5 o'clock, well, a little after 5 o'clock, and I am so excited. I am going to be joined by Matt Dees of Mailroad Wines, and I think he's actually on. So let me get Matt on to join us. Hey guys. Oh my God. Everyone's just rolling in. I love this part where everybody joins and we get to wave at each other. Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Well, it's a little warm here in San Francisco. I imagine you have air conditioning in Barbara? No?
No. Santa Barbara is one of those weird places where we don't expect it to get that hot. And when
Yeah.
it gets to like 82, we get a little weak.
I know, like I had a fan on, but it was so noisy. So I think this, so I'm wearing a summer dress. I feel like I'm going to, but all is well. Besides that, I'm super excited. I opened the Pinots and the Chardonnay, and I'm going to pop this together with you. Like this is a very momentous occasion, but why don't we, wow, we have a lot of people that are coming in. It's hard to keep up with everybody that's joining, but I would love, why don't we start? Let's talk about you, and then we will lead in Mailroad Wines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to connect with people and to talk wine and to talk things I'm passionate about and I believe in. And so, yeah, really appreciate you having me on. This is
Well,
going to be fun.
thank you for saying yes. I feel like, when a guy asks a girl to a dance, there's no way they're going to say yes. I sort of thought that was going to be the case when I asked you. So it all worked out. I'm glad we're both happy to be here at this
Cool.
guy's homecoming dance together.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we met at World of Pinot Bar, and I'd already had our road Pinot last summer at Santa Rita Wine and Fire weekend. And it was sort of like love at first sip when I had it last summer. So it was really great putting the pieces together and putting a face with your very well-known name. So yeah, tell us about Mailroad. What are you doing over there?
Yeah, so I've had the pleasure of making these wines since 2012, which is shocking how time flies. But it's been a really interesting journey getting to Santa Barbara and then getting to Mailroad. And it's the estate program of a very just remarkable piece of land, this parcel of land called Mount Carmel Vineyard. And for anyone who's ever been up to Santa Barbara, Mount Carmel is like it's an old Carmelite monastery, so it's actually like a kind of an abandoned, quasi-haunted, to be honest, monastery on top of this big south-facing slope in the middle of the Santa Rita Hills, and it's these really stark soils and very very weak soils, very driven by diatomaceous earth and wind and all the things that make Santa Rita so exciting, but it's just this truly singular place in the world, and I'm really honored to be a part of it.
Wait, somehow I accidentally turned my camera around, so it's looking at my candles, not at me.
They're very, very nice candles, to be fair.
Technical difficulties. I've never done this before. Excuse me. I'm just trying to flip it back. Well, okay.
Wow, it's there.
Oh, there we go. Whew. That was a scare. Yeah, no, Santa Rita, I mean, I can't wait to come down and visit next time because I know you guys invited me down to the vineyards, and I mean, just reading up on it, that article in Santa Barbara magazine, right?
Yeah.
It's really cool. And I feel like the owners did some really cool stuff with some of the plantings and the clones, which we'll definitely, I realize we should maybe like introduce the Chardonnay and then we'll chit chat. People are probably thirsty, and by people, I mean this girl.
I'm like halfway through the bottle, so let's
Okay. So, well, did you want to start with the Chard or the sparkling? Totally up to you.
I mean the Chard, because that's what I'm really into these days, is Chardonnay. This is the 2016. We make a whopping like 5 barrels. Like 125 cases. We make so little, but it's from this old 1990 own-rooted planting that Ron and Nancy Piazza, the owners and the heart and soul of that property, they've just stuck sticks in the ground. The nuns came out and helped them plant. I mean, this is an incredible. They look really weak, and they look really gnarly, and they dealt like almost like bonsai vines. and they make
Wow.
these clusters and these grape clusters that are just, they're so high in acid, and they're, I mean, it's what I love in Chardonnay, right? If you don't have electricity and tension and salinity in a Chardonnay, it's kind of a waste of time.
Ooh.
Um,
I'm going to steal that descriptor, electricity, and start using it to impress other winemakers. And but
You'll score huge points, huge points.
yeah. So what is the clone of this Chardonnay? Well, I know because I asked you that in our interview, but you're not quite sure, right?
Yeah, so the clone is really strange. We call it the Mount Carmel clone because even the conversation about clones gets a little gray. Where did it come from? What has it turned into? How has it evolved where it is? And this is a selection they took from Richard Sanford, the legend, from Sanford Benedict Vineyard back in 1990. And they basically took a small selection of vines they were all Chardonnay, and they brought them, they stuck them in the ground. And basically what happened was they brought over a couple of Chenin Blanc vines as well by accident, some hitchhikers, and some Chardonnay that sure looks like Riesling, but it happens to be Chardonnay. And they stuck this kind of weird combination of vines together, and it's become the Mount Carmel clone. And it makes, there's nothing else in the world that quite tastes like that.
Beautiful.
It's really, really special wine.
It has like a rich, creamy, I don't mean like in a mallow, like Rombauer, substantial electric body. Kidding. But there's still that like freshness and acidity, but not too much. It's definitely not too green. I feel like it's just perfect. When do you pick these grapes, the Chardonnays?
We pick them all. It depends on the year. It really fluctuates wildly up there because it's so exposed. That vineyard is, literally south facing, and there's nothing keeping the wind from whipping through there. So depending on how much rain we have in the winter and spring, how strong the vines build themselves up in their infrastructure, how the leaves hang, how the sun is, it could be anywhere from, we've picked them early September to early October for sure.
Okay.
And yeah, so all over the board, and it's definitely a vineyard that keeps you on your toes because it's not what you would consider kind of a traditional California vineyard in the sense the soils are very shallow, and again, just because of all those evil characteristics coming together, it makes it a really difficult but incredibly pleasing place to work with.
Getting a question from a fat writer in front of mine, Sarah. She wants to know, what is the elevation?
About 500 feet.
Okay.
So it actually raises. We have some with a little bit more altitude, a little bit lower, but yeah, about 500 feet is right in the sweet spot of the Santa Rita Hills in that middle island. You kind of go from Sea Smoke to Mount Carmel. There's the Wenslao Vineyard, which is very fine, and then the Rita's Crown. So and then you move further west, you get to like Pierre Labarge's beautiful property and Rick Longoria's Space
down the road is Melville, who's on. Hey, Chad, I love those.
Well, no, Chad's on, my boy.
Yeah,
so Melville also beautiful, but Melville back on the north side. Yeah, on the other side. And 246.
I've been to the top of Sea Smoke, so I feel like we talked about this when we had a call. So I've sort of looked out at your vineyard, but I'm not quite sure where, but that's why I need to come. I need to see the place to truly understand the sense of place.
When the world comes back together, come back and hang out.
Well, it's funny. I have Santa Rita Wine and Fire on my calendar in August, and it's optimistic. But who knows? If it's all outside and, each winery is 30 feet from the other, maybe we can take it. We'll find out.
You know what? Who knows? What an odd moment in time. But who knows? Let's hope. It sure would be lovely to see you here.
If not, we'll do more Instagram lives and taste virtually.
We'll fire it up again. I love it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right. The Chardonnay is just so refreshing. It's going down very easily.
Yeah, Santa Rita Hills Chard is. I talk about it with my friends all the time. That of all the wines we make in Santa Rita, to me, it just seems to be the most soulful right now, in that sense that it just represents exactly what Santa Rita Hills is all about, and that really kind of cold climate, that wind from the ocean, those very poor maritime-based soils.
Yeah.
And it's undeniably California. We're not trying to make Burgundy here, but it's so fresh. It's so tense.
So it's funny because a lot of my friends up here in Northern California, not everybody has gotten a chance to go down to Santa Barbara. And I just call it Santa Barbara. I know the vineyards are like 45 minutes, but for those people that probably know where Santa Barbara is, yes. And I was reading your interview. how you ended up in Santa Barbara. And it's interesting because you were in Napa, you were in New Zealand, and you're like, I think I found the home I'm supposed to be in California. Can you explain sort of the Santa Barbara vibe and just sort of like what it's like for people that haven't been there? And yeah, I'm obsessed, but I feel like it'd be better coming from you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I could talk about that for days. I'm still learning about the Santa Barbara vibe. You know, it's so funny. I was such a naive kid. I mean, I'm from Kansas City, and I got that call that they gave me. They found me a head winemaking job in Santa Barbara in like 2004, and I was in New Zealand. I'm like, I don't know, man. Is Santa Barbara nice? Which is like the dumbest question anybody's ever asked ever. You know, and my boss was like, man, you're an idiot, but we'll still give you the job.
Yeah.
It's life is good here, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, wine style wise, I will say, you know, Napa was a little, you know, it had all that breadth and generosity of fruit and all the qualities. And New Zealand was a little bit more focused and precise. And Santa Barbara, wine style wise, is right in between those. There's a little bit of that lusciousness from Napa, and there's a whole lot of that precision from New Zealand. Lifestyle wise?
Yeah. And I think,
lifestyle wise, it's, you know,
it feels a little bit more like fun.
I think it's more like Sonoma than Napa for sure. I think I think that's a good way of putting it. You know, it's I mean, if the surf is still good, no one's there, you know, everyone's out in the water. It's, you know, I remember I moved here, just a little story about Santa Barbara. I got Santa Barbara like right before Fiesta in 2004, and it was a Friday.
I that quietly while you were talking, but anyway, keep going.
No, but it was like a Friday of Fiesta. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I was at work. And I looked around, and no one was at work. And I looked outside, and there's a parade underneath my bench, you know. And I remember this guy looked in the window. He's like, "Why are you working?" And I said, "It's Friday." And he laughed. And he said, "This is Santa Barbara."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's a slower, more mellow surf town for sure.
Well, and like when I first visited Santa Barbara, I stayed coast and, you know, got to know like I went to Lompoc Ghetto first, and I was like, this is not very glamorous. They have great wineries. I have a Lompoc top 10 guide, love them, but, you know, I think Santa Barbara's a little bit more of my vibe in terms of like being on the beach and the great restaurants, and like Los Olivos I describe as the cutest town in America. It's so stinking cute.
Yeah, Los Olivos is a lovely place. I'm a big San Ynez fan, to be honest.
Yeah, well, SY Kitchen, I mean, I could eat there daily if I lived in San Ynez.
It's amazing. The Red Barn, all those restaurants there are gorgeous.
I've never been to Red Barn. I've just been to SY Kitchen and then Maverick after, so.
Oh.
Yeah. I got
it. On the ceiling?
Full flair. People that haven't been, guys, Maverick is like the biggest dive bar, but it's so fun. There's line dancing and yeah.
And it's really fun, actually, like the dichotomy between like the laid back surfer Santa Barbara and the valley, which is still really like cowboy. You know, it's still rancher cowboy. It's so great. It's like the Wild West.
I accidentally, my first time I was there, it was like the Rancho, whatever the Bohemian Club Cowboys is, it was their weekend.
Oh, yes.
Like 800 cowboys that come down and take over. Yes. And I thought it was so much fun. Then I went back the next year, the same weekend, incidentally. And yeah, it's such a cool vibe. I mean, wine, great people, good food. So speaking of wine, I did subtly, not so subtly, pop the bubbles. What do you think? We're at the quarter mark. Should we have the bubbles? I want to give wine about a fair amount of time.
I love it. Let's do it. The bubbles are magnificent. I think, you know, we make a whopping, well, we make like 5 barrels of Chardonnay. We make 1 barrel of sparkling. Look at that.
I know. Like, I mean, you guys weren't even pouring this at World of Pinot, were you?
No, we you know, we end up after disgorgement, we have like 22 cases a year, I think. Let
me show everybody this bottle we're talking about. So you guys, those of you that might not have bought the wines ahead of time to join for this tasting, don't worry. Well, so these are really allocated only, but you guys are going to, like, I think, open them up for sale for my followers and viewers after this.
Oh, okay, cool.
Very shortly. So if you're interested in tasting these wines, which at the moment, I'm pretty sure your lovely sales director, Drew, told me these are the highest scoring Pinot Noirs in Santa Rita at the moment. Does that sound about right?
I don't know about that. They've been well received. I mean, there's some doozies out there in Santa Rita. They're among that for sure. They've garnered great acclaim, but there are some.
Well, they've garnered great reviews, and I love them. So I mean, if they're on they're on my list. And
hey, my mom loves them. That's great, right? They're amazing.
I actually try not, like when I go to a winery and the first thing they tell me about a reviews, I'm sort of like, no, just be quiet. Let me form my own opinion. Because I mean, great. Because Robert Parker likes something doesn't mean I'll necessarily like it. And I almost don't want to have that bias while I'm tasting something.
Yeah. No, hey, look, I think it's interesting. The critical environment right now is fantastic. And, critics with very different palates all tend to enjoy these wines because they have fruit, but they also have the vibrancy. That wine, though,
very fresh. Is this
very fresh? Yeah, zero dosage. It's like
100% Chardonnay?
Yes, 100% Chardonnay. We've never played with Blanc de Noir up there. The Pinot is such a different creature than Chardonnay up there. They're basically different species for sure. I would say, that is all about this very tight kind of high tensile wire that vibrates. I mean, it's really like a shock
Bubbles.
to drink. And if you paired that with oysters, which is such a cliche pairing, but honestly, it never disappoints. And that wine is like made for that pairing with that little saltwater brine out of the oyster shell.
Yum. Well, it looks like when I come down to Santa Barbara and I visit the vineyard, maybe we'll have oysters. We can just, have a little cooler.
Yeah, write it down now. It's a date. It's happening.
Great.
Yep. Yeah.
No, it's lovely. It's the zero dosage. So for those of you guys that don't know what that means, can you explain what that means, please?
Yeah. So Chardonnay so sparkling is a process where you make a still wine. That's the base wine. It's a Chardonnay, but less fruit. I mean, you pick it earlier. You make it this very racy barrel of Chardonnay. Then you basically put it in a tank. You add more sugar and more yeast. So it starts to ferment, and then you trap it in a bottle again. You can leave it in bottle with all those lees, and it gets more rich, more
creamy, yeasty.
Yeasty, yeah. I mean, all the beautiful things of aging Chardonnay. And then when you want to disgorge it, basically you riddle it a quarter turn a day. We hand riddle these and hand bottle, hand everything.
Who's got hand riddle in Santa Barbara? I thought that was only in Champagne.
No, we love it. You do the whole quarter turn a day, and you come home, you see it at night in your sleep and your nightmares. But we disgorge at a scorching speed. I think we disgorge like 2.5 cases an hour.
Wow.
But so when you disgorge, you have the option. You can basically put a little bit of sweetness in there to balance the acidity. And we did experiments, and at 24 cases, we decided to highlight a pretty wild side of sparkling wine. I mean, not exactly what you think of again when you think of California sparkling. It's
a little more sophisticated than the average. I mean, it's funny because the 2 times I've gone to Champagne, each time I've gotten into lower and lower sugar. So I joke, the sweet spot for me is now like 4 to 6 grams. But then I had zero dosage, especially old, that I was like, oh, this is perfect. Is that the 4 to 6 grams? Like, no, it's zero dosage. So, I mean, this is super drinkable now, but I bet in 2 or 3 years, like it might even get a little creamier. Do you agree?
I think you're right. And we're starting to experiment actually with the 17 with another year in tirage. So another year in bottle on the yeast before we disgorge. So there'll be a little extra richness.
Okay.
Which could in essence add that sensation of balance that perhaps even a really small dosage would give. From the yeast autolysis and kind of that general
yeast. What is this? I don't know that word.
Autolysis.
Oh, okay.
That's the word of the day. This is the word of the day here in Santa Barbara. Autolysis.
Yeah.
It's when the yeast start to break apart. In essence, they start to decompose, if you want. In this case, in the bottled champagne, and they release that kind of biscuity, earthy quality, and also a sensation of richness on occasion. So. Yeah. Just from the contact over time. But next time we do it, we'll taste the 17, and it'll be even another year further.
Well, yeah, we'll have to do a side by side. And also, I think it's also interesting when you taste, champagne in a larger size, because then there's less oxygen. Can you?
Yeah. There's the headspace to the actual volume of liquid it could be smaller in those magnums. Yeah. By the way, you want to hear an amazing champagne story?
Sure.
So, was part of a tasting with a Champenoise producer, and he was pouring wine out of a 750, like a regular bottle. And he was like forlorn. He was so upset about it. He's like, I'm very sorry. Today we have to taste from half bottle. For him, a Magnum is a bottle.
Yeah.
50 is a half bottle. That's a great way to think about it.
Hey, yeah, especially with champagne. That is, I thought you meant like a half bottle champagne. So cute. Those.
Oh, they're great.
Okay, so that's another new phrase. Maybe I'll just start using that when I order champagne with Sam when he shows up at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, I said a half bottle.
Yeah. Although you need to drink a like a Magnum. What do you? I mean, 3 or 4 people at least, probably.
Hopefully, yeah. Otherwise, times are tough. Times are really hard if you go through a Magnum of champagne solo or a duo. That's hard.
Yeah. So I just, as we were talking about the sparkling wine, I feel like we sort of breezed over your background. So I want to make sure we can talk about it. So you and I talked about it. You're from the Midwest. Awesome. Kansas City. And yes, you and I agree with the same barbecue spots. Yeah, I've been my best friend.
I knew I liked you. Second time.
So yeah, just tell us, you went to college in Vermont. You've worked in Napa, New Zealand. Like, sort of tell us the rundown.
Yeah. So I grew up in Kansas City. Go Chiefs. And not a lot of fine wine being produced in Kansas City these days. So, I was always a kid who was fascinated by bugs and by plants, and always connected very well with both of them, better than humans most often. And like, they just always made sense to me, and very logical, like cool, rational creatures. And moved to Vermont in 2000 or 97, actually. Started making wine there in 98. So 23 years ago, got bit by the bug and like made a fake ID so I could like, manage a wine bar. It was, when you get bit by the wine bug.
You applied for a job with a fake ID. That is dedication.
This was the 90s. Fake IDs were a little easier back then.
Oh, I had a fake ID. I'm well aware, but I didn't apply for a job with it. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was also Vermont back in the day. Anyways, made wine there for a long time, for 3 years, and it was just cold, and like the winters are brutal, and we made killer wines at Shelburne Vineyard, beautiful ones. Yeah. But ended up going to Australia and studying a bit, moving to Napa, working with the Staglins, who just were like family to me, and we made some good wines together. I was their assistant there for years. Went down, worked with Doug Weiser and Adrian Baker at Craigie Range, kind of that Three Little Bears thing, too hot, too cold. Got that cold. I've been here ever since 2004. And this is where I want to be. This is where I want to stay. Yeah.
Well, I would love to move to Santa Barbara. I joke that I probably won't move there till I retire. I can't really imagine a single girl in Santa Barbara. I've heard it's not really the best spot for dating. But if I get married and settle down, maybe I'll be in Santa Barbara. We'll see.
I can speak to one thing. It's better than Napa for the dating scene.
Well, but Napa.
I was single in both.
Okay, well, we'll see. Maybe I'll be bi-coastal, San Francisco and Santa Barbara. That's the best.
Such a good idea. I love that.
Cool. Well, I'm curious. We've just been gabbing, and I haven't really asked our viewers any questions. Guys, is anybody lucky enough to have any of these bottles open as well? If so, are you drinking the bubbles with us? What are you drinking? We'll just let them comment. And
I would love to hear thoughts on the bubbles, because literally like 4 people have ever tasted them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we sell them to restaurants and whatnot, but 24 cases doesn't go very far. That's 300 bottles, roughly. So,
yeah. I mean, definitely very bright. I think from when I first tasted, probably like 4 to 6 minutes ago, it is, softening a little bit. But at the same time, I think like what's nice about it is it's so hard. Like everyone used to tell me years ago, like, oh, wait till your palate changes. Like you like a big jet until it changes. Like something's wrong with me. Like my palate's not mature. And my palate has changed with champagne. And now I prefer lighter, not sugary champagne. So like this stylistically, it's just so much easier to drink. And it's not sweet like Prosecco. Horrible example. But people that, don't understand what we're talking about. Like a Prosecco, what do you think there is like 18 or 20 grams?
Whoa, boy. I've heard some crazy stories. Yeah, at least you can get to 40 gram stuff, but I'd say 20 grams is probably about right. And that's a lot of sugar, and they're great wines. I love Proseccos, but time and
Yeah,
place.
it's a little OJ to water them down.
Oh, yeah, hey, Sunday
So
brunch, there's no issue there.
speaking
But
of your career, I'm in topics because we just got a comment. I interviewed which you guys will be on the blog like later this week. I'm just going to leave you in suspense. And you mentioned one of your mentors, and he's actually on here. Mr. Greg Brewer has joined and is saying hello to us both.
Greg is the best. Yeah, he's the best. Yeah, I was talking to him. He's really interesting. We so many people. I mean, Greg's on here, Chad's on here. People who really inspired me to come down here with the quality of wines they've been making since they started. I mean, they came out of the gates just making world-class wines, and that's amazing to me. But yeah, it's this is such an interesting part of the world. You asked about the culture here in Santa Barbara and what it's like, and there's a feeling of youth that I've really been noticing. Obviously, Santa Barbara itself, because UCSB and Santa Barbara's Santa Barbara. But in the Valley, I've always been really attracted to the fact that there's so many young winemakers, so many young sommeliers in town, so many interesting thoughts, as far as production, as far as vineyard planting. Everything is just very fresh. There's really no rules that have been written, and we're really pushing the envelope. Mailroad is, very traditional grapes in the sense that we're Chardonnay and Pinot, and what is in essence an AVA based on Chardonnay and Pinot. But they have a niche they've carved out that's just so unlike anything else. And the same with Rick Longoria, same with Greg's wine, same with Chad's wine, same with Pierre's wine, same with what Sanford has been doing, and Justin Willett, like everyone in Raj Parr and Sashi for sure. Like all these people are making these really singular wines that are so full of personality and have a common thread that is the AVA and is the Santa Rita Hills mystique, whatever it is. It's dark fruit with freshness, or it's electricity with that oyster brine, but putting their own mark on it.
The thing that I think distinguished Santa Barbara wines personally for me from like Sonoma and Russian River, if my nose is on, I think typically I find Santa Barbara Pinot Noirs more aromatic with like a beautiful floral nose to them.
Yeah. These are the conversations that need to take place, because no one ever talks about that. That's what we're interested in seeing, is what is overall, like when you think of like Nuit Saint-Georges, or you think of Maurice Saint-Denis, like you dork out with Burgundy dorks about like their specific villages and what is Volnay, like what is Santa Rita, and what is the north side? What is like where Chad is, and what is the south side where we're kind of that south facing slope there in the middle, versus like Sea Smoke or versus Sanford Benedict and Peak, all those properties. So I love hearing that.
What else is fun? So the first, I'm going to jump AVAs. I'm going to jump to Santa Maria, and we're not drinking Santa Maria right now. But I do think it's fun. Like when I'm like tasting blind, I always try to like guess the difference between Santa Rita and Santa Maria. And, I don't know. These are the things that wine bloggers apparently do for fun, or I do.
Well, tell me, for you, what is it? I can't wait to hear, because I do this all the time, and we're doing a bunch of tastings. We'll invite you down, because these are the questions that have to get answered. For you, with Chardonnay and then Pinot, what do you think about Santa Maria versus Santa Rita?
Well, so the first winery I ever visited in Santa Maria was Bien Nacido. So I have this like lifelong love for Bien Nacido. And I think, who doesn't? It's like such a great, like Bob and Jim Clendon, and they're doing so much on that vineyard with their brands. So it's like, and so many great wineries get fruit from them. That to me, it's really fun when I get to taste Bien when other people's wines, and of course, it's like I just know I'm gonna love the wine because it's Bien Nacido, and I feel like, the east west, or which winds are it. So the Santa Maria Valley is the one that has the winds that go, is it south, north, south, or east, west? It's like the only one, like Petaluma Gap, where the wind goes.
They come down. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like east, west, whatever. But yeah, it would be interesting to do a side by side from the same winemaker of Santa Rita versus Santa Maria, just for like comparison.
Yeah.
But
like Adam Tolmack, for example, that's a fun one. We've done that. That's fascinating. There's it's interesting. there's that question between Santa Rita and Santa Maria. And then again, that question of like, what is the north, south, east, west? What do those quadrants within Santa Rita taste like? And we're digging in deep. And
yeah, well, we have a very knowledgeable viewer, Philip Carpenter, that said spicy mushroom goodness out of Santa Maria.
I love me some Phil
And
Carpenter.
we think Santa Maria. Santa Rita, I feel like, is it a little bit, I don't want to say like less earthy, but again, like, is Santa Maria a little bit more earthy than Santa Rita, would you say?
These are great questions. I should have a great answer.
Okay. Well,
Every time I think, and I think Phil is right with that description of Santa Maria, they're mushroomy. There's always like a wonderful Santa Maria funk to the Pinots that I love. And the Chardonnays to me from Santa Maria are always tropical.
okay.
Like that, the Chardonnays are easier for me. It's like that pineapple, passion fruit. There's a really tropical note to them.
Okay.
That is, like Biennacido, Solomon Hills, like good stuff. Killer ones. Santa Rita Chardonnay to me is more mineral based, less tropical, more,
Okay.
usually sometimes even higher acid. It depends. Higher tartaric seems to me. There's like a real salty kind of tartaric salt quality.
Salinity and minerals. Good job, Phil. Phil's basically doing for me.
Yeah. Phil knows what he's talking about. That's for sure.
Oh, this is Phil with Santa Barbara.
Yeah. This is the Phil.
Oh my God! Hi, Phil.
I
Oh my
saw
God,
Phil today.
Phil. We were to meet at World of Pinot, and I don't think we did. Oh my God! No wonder he knows what he's talking about. Great.
No, he knows.
I thought it was a really smart viewer or wine club member.
Right. He is. But
Yeah.
you know, as far as Santa Rita goes, though, I mean, if you're looking at the southwest corner of the Santa Rita versus the south-facing kind of middle, these I can speak to because every year, year in, year out, Mount Carmel, the Mailroad wines have this very kind of a very consistent theme. The Chardonnay, like I could taste Mount Carmel Chardonnay from Mailroad like every day, and I can tell you in a lineup that that's specifically Mailroad Mount Carmel Vineyard Chardonnay. The Pinot too, I can actually look at it in the glass because the darkness of those wines is.
Well, it might. I mean, I was just about to pour a little more Chardonnay. Chardonnay talks getting Chardonnay thirsty, but we should talk about the Pinots because we haven't even gone there yet, and that's actually what brought us together. And I mean, the Chardonnay and the Brut were beautiful, but I feel like, would you say that like people sort of know you for the Pinots at Mailroad Wines?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think that is the case, but I think it's getting close to parity. Like I think it's 50-50 now. People come to us for Chardonnay, or people come to us from Pinot, and it's happened since day one. I mean, the earliest wines off that property, like Brian Babcock, Rick Longoria, I think Jim Clendenin was up there.
Yeah.
Liquid gold.
Yeah.
I had a 98 Babcock Mount Carmel Vineyard Magnum, or regular bottle as we're now referring to them. And it was literally up there. And then you go through like Brewer Clifton took over early 2000s and ran through 2011 and produced some of the most iconic Pinots and Chards out of this property. And now I think we treat both of them with the same level of respect on production and certainly on the farming side, which, you know, this is our estate project. So we're farming and we're doing making.
So you're doing, I know that we're tasting Pinots. Do you produce two Chardonnays or just one? One. So I guess quantity wise, there's twice as many Pinots. However,
there's really one Chardonnay block. We're planting more, but that one Chardonnay block, we're just not going to give up on it. And every year, like,
it's perfect.
But it putters to the finish line, like barely. And we're going to keep fighting the fight and give it love and like literally compost every vine. It's like the proverbial like farming hug to every vine to get it back. And we'll keep that block going because it's historically relevant and it produces just rocking wines.
Of the Chardonnay, we did have a question. How much is the Chardonnay and also the sparkling? Ballpark.
The sparkling, I have no idea.
Okay, me neither. I didn't check the retails. That's my bad. I probably should before these. I don't talk price a lot on my blog.
No, and I make the ones. I rarely know the price, to be fair.
Okay.
I don't know. I think the Chard, because we make so little and because it's such a unique high quality, was one of the first Chards in Santa Rita to be $100 a bottle.
Oh my goodness. I'm glad I Coravin this. I'm going to be rationing.
Wow, good job with the Coravin.
Oh yeah. Coravin for these. I mean, I'm just tasting such special wines. I want to be able to enjoy them later and not waste them.
Yeah, no, it's a good call. But we made the price decision based on quality of tasting other wines of the world, and it was Santa Rita produces right up there. I believe that wholeheartedly. Chardonnay and Pinot, with the best in the world.
Well, and there's not a lot of it, so people that love it and love your winemaking probably scoop it up. So, guys, those of you that are curious, I would say don't wait too long to order this. Well, good. Okay. So in terms of the Pinot, I have 2 here. I have blocks 2, 3, and 5, and Mount Carmel Vineyard Pinot. Where would you like me to start?
I'd start at the blocks, I think. Yeah, start at blocks 2, 3, and 5. That's what I'm drinking.
I also love the label. It's just like so simple, but like elegant and, you know, not very common. And this is the back.
Yeah, our partner, we have Ron and Nancy Piazza, who are like the most lovely, warm, exceptional people who are just like, they make me happy to be around them. And I want to make great wines because they planted that vineyard.
Yeah.
And we have Drew, who you know, and we have this wonderful family of like wonderful people. And Michael Palmer, who's on here giving me grief.
Yeah, I'm ignoring his comments. They sound really funny, but I didn't know if you'd want me to read them out loud.
He's a lovely schmuck. He's one of my good friends.
He should have oysters and Chardonnay with us in the vineyard.
Careful what you wish for. But he did this. And he's McConnell's Ice Cream. He our McConnell's Ice Cream, and exceptional, beautiful people. I can't believe I said that about Michael Palmer, but he is. And he did all the design work on this, and it's. What's that?
He has great taste in graphic design work.
He always does. Yep. He does indeed.
So I'm going to start with this block 235, and we should probably, I don't know if we did it very much with the Chardonnay. Should we share some, like, you know, what we're smelling and tasting with everybody?
Yeah.
I'm already in the vineyard having oysters. Oh my gosh, this guy. Maybe when I move to Santa Barbara, he sounds like fun. I'll hang out with him.
Again, careful what you wish for. Yeah, so hey, look, the blocks for us was a blend we made from a selection of vineyards that kind of highlighted what the vintage was about on our property. In 15, Mother Nature, like, sucker punched us over and over and over again, in the sense that when the flowers of the grapevines were opening, we had these windy conditions, and then cold, and then hot, and then cold, and then windy, and then wet. And so the flowers didn't set. So what happened was we had these clusters that would have been this big, and then Mother Nature took all their fruit, so they were this big. And on Mount Carmel, they were that big. So we had no fruit, really small clusters, and the berries were minuscule. So the 15s ended up being this really powerful, concentrated, structured vintage, right? There's a lot of tannin in there. And the thing about Mailroad and Mount Carmel specifically is that the density, the concentration of fruit is like unrivaled. I've never seen another vineyard that gives you that specific like quantity of fruit and then stays fresh and structured. 15 is kind of like 12. They're really extreme, but man, these wines will live forever.
I love it. I mean, it's on the nose. I mean, you know, it's like sort of like a little bit earthy. Like, I don't think it's not as big and sensuous and like silky on the nose as it is like when you taste it, which I love. I just remember, like, I mean, you can ask Drew, when I first tasted them, I always get home from a wine weekend or a wine event, look at my tasting notes, which those are a disaster. But always, you know, words, and scribbles, and I have a system to do a double heart.
You get reduced to a double heart?
No.
A smiley face?
4 out of 20. And then if it's like an outlier favorite, there's a double heart. So then when I go, I'm like, oh my God, these are the 4 that got a double heart out of 4.
That's amazing. Wait, the double heart is your highest
rating.
Oh.
In addition to, like, you know, I mean, I don't remember. My scoring is out of 20, and anything I like is like between a 15 and like a 17.
Okay.
So I'm sure you got a 17 plus a double heart, and then I came home and I wrote about that weekend, and I just was like, you know, it's like when you're a wine writer and you taste the same thing over and over, it's fun when you like meet somebody new, meet a new brand, and you're like, oh, what's this? And that's how I felt when I met Drew. And then when I met you at World of Pinot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so cool to hear. Thank you. We do make a different wine because that property is unique. And, you know, when we made the wines, people want to know, like, why did you decide to make the wine this way? And we didn't. You know, 12 was the first vintage we made, and the grapes came in, and we said, okay, this is what we have. You know, we tasted the fruit to make sure that it was ripe, and we tried to understand the farming and how it goes, and it made this wine that was like boisterously like big and rich and dense and chewy and bright, and we're like, okay, that's what happens here.
Yeah. Cool. It's beautiful though, and it's very tempered because I mean sometimes you have a wine that I love a big Pinot Noir, like those light ones, and people are like, oh, it's a light Pinot. I'm like, yeah, not for me. It could be like just I don't want to drink it. I mean, maybe I'll take a sip and be like, great job. Like that's not what I want to drink. If I really love something, like that's not what I want a bottle of. Yeah. You know, like I could fully drink this by myself, this bottle. Yeah. I would share it. But
I'm getting through this bottle today. Oh, I started first thing in the morning. I'm going to travel with this thing and go through my whole day, and I'm going to finish it, damn it.
Well, I actually got a photo. I saw that you were in the vineyard today, the Santa Barbara wine guys. We were Instagram messaging, and they're like, oh, we're in the vineyard today with him. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. Santa Barbara Wine Alliance.
Yeah, it was so funny. I had my son with me today, my 7-year-old son with me, because like he's driving everybody crazy at the house. He's a wonderful guy, but he's driving us crazy. So I got to take him to work today.
Yeah.
And we went up to the top of the vineyard of Radiant, and like Phil is there, and Brandon Sparks Gillis, and Matt from Samsara, and
oh, Matt's great.
He's exceptional. Yeah, and great producers and tons of fun, and yeah, it was cool to see people. It's the first time I've like seen people in the wild for quite a while.
Well,
right?
It looked like you were far away. I was not making any social distance commenting. I was just like, oh, I'm so jealous. They're in the vineyard today. But luckily, you know, they sent me a photo on our Instagram chat combo, so that was sweet. I was like, yay, I'll see them tonight.
Yeah, and it just, I mean, again though, like to be up there and like be like, oh my God, there are other people in the world.
Yeah,
it was so weird, but it felt good to see friends again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily up here in Northern California, things are opening up. I know Sonoma on Friday evening, they got permission to start doing outdoor. I think Napa this week might be. I mean, don't quote me on dates or anything, but it's exciting to see things slowly coming back to normal in a safe, cautious way. Because I think we all are, you know, looking to support our restaurateur partners and get. I mean, I'm sure. With your 7-year-old son at home, especially parents, like they're like, camp, school, you know, everybody does all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I get it. Yeah, it's we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, Crazy Wine, the 15 blocks is one of our house favorites. It's
so 2, 3, 5. So this is 3 blocks within the whole. And then the one we're going to take next is just all the grapes through the whole.
No, it's a little bit different. The blocks was a series of wines we made, and like I was telling you a little bit about like why the clusters were so small and everything was so concentrated, and everything was so epically kind of like broad-shouldered and just brooding. Those were the blocks, 2, 3, 5, that specifically gave that, and they like highlighted that to the nth degree. In 15. So we decided to bottle like, I don't know, we bottled 8 barrels, 6 barrels, 7 barrels, something like that of that wine.
Okay.
And just because it was the most, I don't know, the most relevant and kind of reflective of a representative of what 15 was. And then the estate. Okay. More or less every year, it's the same blocks. It's a flavor specifically, I would say, of Mount Carmel Vineyard. Okay. And you'll see the difference. What's that?
The house style.
I think that wine has become a little bit more. Yeah, I think you're about right. Yeah, and it's an intense wine. I mean, I tasted the 15 this morning. I've been tasting it since about 8 a.m. and trying to reacquaint myself with it. And it was very shy, very reticent. And then it kind of like said hello to me around 10 o'clock. And then it got real surly at like noon. And then at 2, I was like, oh, there's fruit.
Just
and
every,
so,
so loyal. Were you just checking in on it every 2 hours?
I was worried about it. Yeah, I wanted to check and make sure it still happened. No, you know, I do that all the time. I'm as neurotic as Woody Allen. It's crazy. I like to travel with the wines and understand their journey. And the 15 estate, boy, that's a complex character. And
well,
like
now I want to.
Yeah, the greatest Pinots of the world are always the most complex to me, and this one is a lot going on.
Right, nose to nose, the 235 has way more of that floral, rosy nose we were talking about. The estate does not.
No. Give it a couple days.
Maybe I'll taste it at 7 p.m., 9 p.m., 11 p.m. and see how it changes.
Yeah, set your alarm at night. Do the 1 and the 3 a.m. and then the 4:30 and 5. That's the best.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like. I mean, it depends what you like. I because I spend a lot of time at that vineyard. I love the estate because
Very
there's
different.
an elegance to it. Even in like the biggest, brawniest vintage, the most tannic vintage ever, it's like it's actually very silky. Very, very.
But like also a little bit more of like the earthy sort of like rougher on the edges finish, which I think like makes it interesting. That's what I think is so different about the two of them. But like, I mean, I could definitely like taste these side by side and know which was which. They're different styles. I mean,
yeah, they're so different.
I mean, is it crazy? They're like how many? You know, the Black's 235. I mean, I don't know how far away. How big is this? How big is the vineyard, Mount Carmel?
It's tiny. It's 20 acres.
Yeah.
They're all kind of right in this little valley on the top of this kind of ridgeline, or in the middle of this.
Yeah.
There's ridgelines and there's also actually an extended level of hillside, but they're all right there. It's just, you know, there's a lot of 828 we talked about clones in our interview. 828 heavily in the estate.
Okay.
And along with a heritage clone that we call the Mount Carmel clone, that is golf ball sized clusters, BB sized berries, skins that are that thick, you know, seeds that are big, you know, and a very tannic, earth driven, spice driven wine. And you put them together, and that's the estate.
Okay.
It's a kind of a yin and yang kind of relationship between those blocks. And long term, like today, you're right. Today I drank the blocks. No doubt. Today, the pleasure point right there is on blocks. 10 years down the road, I hope I have an estate. I really hope I have an estate somewhere in my cellar, like when my daughter graduates high school, right? Like,
well, you daughter, you know what you're supposed to do. This is what I've heard, that people whose parents own wineries, they get a case of wine and they have that wine like at the wedding or something.
Yeah, from her birth year. Yeah. I've got it because they're little. I've been making wine here for 16 years, so luckily they're like 9, 7.
All the wineries like you've worked for over the years, or I mean, you make for a few brands at the moment. How cool would the wines get at that wedding?
Oh, she's gonna be rocking and rolling in good wines.
Yeah,
I had like.
Careful, some guy might just marry her for the wines at the wedding. I would do that. I would love to marry her for a family for the wine.
I grew up drinking like Mogan David and Manischewitz. It's like my kids are like, you know, like my son as a kid, I was like, here, try this, you know, roastang, you know, co-roti.
Yeah.
These kids are spoiled, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up, like we talked about, I'm from Chicago. My parents didn't drink a ton and, you know, nothing fancy. Now it's like I got out here and I just stumbled upon writing about wine, and we get spoiled, you know, like even just you guys sharing these wines with me, it's amazing.
Yeah. No, hey, it's the joy of this industry. We can be wealthy in fermented grape juice.
Totally. I mean, my friends are like, what do you do with all that wine you have? I'm like, well, I taste it and write about it. And also, like, you know, a lot of times pay you in wine. So you're like, it's sort of like cash. I can't just like throw it away. You got to, you know, stay aged, gift, share it.
That's why you fill the bathtub with it and soak in it for days. It's great.
I mean, a sparkling wine bath, I think I could get behind. Pinot, no.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Well, this is a crazy one, right?
Pardon?
This is a crazy wine. The estate is a wild animal, savage thing.
Yes, and I'm totally gonna like text you in 2 hours, like, oh, this is how it is now.
It'll change.
So, in your wine allocation, maybe you don't know about this. Do people get to pick what they want, or is it pre-allocated so they would get one of each? Like for your members.
Ooh, good. Where's Drew? When you meet? Where's that Drew?
Where's Drew?
Our good friend Drew.
I'm just curious because each wine club does it a little differently. But I'd like to put my 2 cents in for those of you that are thinking of buying these. I would say get all 4. But in terms of the Pinot, like they're both like beautiful and elegant and like bigger, not that wimpy light Pinot I hate. But they are stylistically, like one. The blocks 2, 3, 5, I feel like is, that elegant, like sensual, I don't want to say womanly Pinot. And then like the estate one's got a little bit more like, manly.
Yeah, it is a bit masculine, the estate.
Which is fine. I mean, I think those are fine words to describe them.
I know, I agree today. Absolutely.
Drew is here. Hello. The answer to my question is people can pick what wines they want that are available.
Is he of the Eagles?
I guess so. Or somebody else knows the answer to that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, well, thank you for the answer of the Eagles. So, oh goodness, time is flying by. Hello, Drew. This is what I tell people. Like, they're like, what do you talk about for 60 minutes? And I'm like, as long as the person's cool, it goes like that. I can't do this with boring people.
Yeah. I love this so much. I find so much joy in this, like talking to wonderful people about wine right now. It's just so much fun. And yeah, I can't imagine like trying to pull like
teeth,
Kathy doll, like pull things out of a
yeah. No, I mean, luckily I've done, gosh, I don't know. I should maybe count. This might be like my 10th or my 11th Instagram live since shelter.
Wow.
And I've, been trying to make sure it's people that I have a rapport with or I've met, and like I want to get, like you, I met and I want to get to know further and talk about your wines together. What a treat. So yeah, but make sure it's sort of like going on a first date. You don't want to do an Instagram live with talk about this.
No. Oh, yeah, that'd be a disaster. Total disaster. But it's a fun time, and I love the questions. I love when people ask questions.
Yeah,
it's dangerous for me. I can talk for days about these wines, but
I can for days. So speaking of which, we have about 5 minutes left. So I would like to make sure all of our viewers' questions have been answered. We did get a question earlier. How would you describe the Pinot Noir style of this versus some of the other brands you make?
Yeah, at the end of the day, for me, I've never approached a wine ever and said, like I was saying earlier, I've never said, I want to make this style of wine.
Right.
I've never said that. I've always listened and the strength of our team is, farming and our process for winemaking is fairly simple. We don't use a lot of bells and whistles. We don't use amphora. We don't use anything beyond like stainless fermentation tanks. And
even for the Chardonnay, no oak for the Chardonnay?
For Chardonnay, I'll use oak for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Never new oak for these wines, really. No, we haven't used new oak since maybe 13, maybe. But to me, stylistically, it's not that much of a different process. It's really just stylistically how they end up based on the flavor of the place. And this just being a south-facing slope that gets the sun like all day here in the northern hemisphere,
rich juiciness that I love. Yeah.
It makes it. I mean, regardless of whether you want to like pick it really early or pick it really late, or put like a hat on, it's like I'm gonna make a Pommard style one. It's gonna taste like Mount Carmel, and it's a great question, but I think that this one tastes the way it does because of the
place. Each brand is a reflection of the place and the grapes you're growing. Period.
Yeah, and Mount Carmel is one of the most intense in the sense that the vineyard is so extreme, and we're allowed to cherry pick the best blocks and take what we want and play with the grafting and like between Ron and Nancy and Michael and Drew and Tom, like all the team, we come up with these interesting wines, that are really soulful.
So one other question So are you guys the only ones getting grapes from the vineyard, or do you guys sell grapes to anybody else?
We sell a small amount of fruit to friends.
Okay.
So there are a couple other single vineyards, but we farm it. And, you know, that's kind of the when I joined the project, I said, you know, I want it to be an estate project.
Yeah.
And I want it to be small, you know, and as it is now, we make, you know, 100 cases of Chard, 25 cases of sparkling, you know, like 100 cases of blocks and, you know, 200 cases of estate Pinot.
So there's one thing I want to mention that I forgot to mention that I want to mention. Can I mention again? So you guys are going to be at Pinots and Plaid, which I think I've told you about this. You've heard about it. But so I threw together, because I like Pinot Noir so much,
Sure.
of 2019, I hosted an event with 25 Northern California wines. My plan was always to invite Southern, ask Chad. I just wanted to get under my belt to make sure it was a success before I had all you guys drive up 5 hours to an event.
Right.
Not a success. So you guys are going to be a part of it for 2020, Mailroad. And it was supposed to be October 27th. Unfortunately, with the current situation, I don't think we're going to have 400 to 600 people in a room to get wine. So it's probably, I'm going to push it out until the early 2021. But I just wanted to tell everybody, my loyal followers, that, you know, buy the wines, and that'll hold you over for like a month or two. And then just like count down to Pinots and Plaid, because you can have Mailroad wines there too.
Is Plaid, do we have to wear Plaid in the tasting?
You don't have to, but I'm stirring up a little competition. Like last year, Andy Pay definitely had the best Plaid outfit. And this has come up in conversation, and I'm trying to create a little bit of competition. And I think we're going to have an award for best winemaker outfit and best guest outfit. Ooh. So I would highly recommend Plaid. I don't know if you're coming. I mean, I would hope so. But, you know, you winemakers are very busy, especially in October. So the fact that you're back, it might be better for me, because you're not going to be making wine in February or March.
You know what? Yeah, I'll work on a Plaid, like a real nice get-up. I don't know what it'll be, but maybe a 3-piece suit and a muffler. Yeah. And,
you know, if you're gonna come up, maybe you can twist our buddy Chad's arm, because originally he wasn't able to join because he was like, it's in harvest. Chad, I hope you're still listening. But now that it's not in harvest, hopefully I'll have Melville there too. We shall see. If you guys. I'm trying to think who else from Santa Barbara. I'm mind freeze right now, but I was excited about you and Paul Lotto.
Oh, Paul, that'd be fun too. And Chad, oh man, those are good friends and great producers. I would love it. Yeah, we'll show those Northern California guys what we do down here.
I did invite Sea Smoke. Victor said yes to me tentatively at World of Pinot before the world came to a halting pause. So who knows? I think we're gonna have a good lineup.
Wow, Victor would be so much fun too. They make killer wines. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, if we came up, we'd like drive a Santa Rita Hills bus and get off with like brass knuckles. We'd show the world. Yeah, we came to fight.
Yeah. I wouldn't talk up the outfit thing too much, because I don't think you want your friends to know how much stuff you're going to put into it. But I would start now. Tip, you can't really get Plaid after Q4. So, yeah, because it's like a holiday thing. So I would start looking in the fall. So then by the spring, you have a great outfit.
Sleeves optional. Awesome.
Oh my gosh, we're getting the 1 minute warning. This is so sad. We've almost run out of time. We've gotten a lot of great feedback about your beard though, Matt. People love it.
My beard?
Yeah. Some of the comments, you'll have to read them later.
It's such a funny thing. I never look at myself in the mirror, and then like these Instagram things, I'm like, oh, you can only look at.
Oh, you look great. You're very dapper.
Oh, dapper. You know what? I've never in my 41 years of experience been called dapper. So thank you very much.
That feels inappropriate. You're a married man, but dapper is like a compliment, but not.
No, dapper. I know dapper. I love that. I've never been called dapper. That makes my day. I'm now a dapper individual.
Well, and I think this dapper keep going into Pinots and Plaid.
I love it.
Okay. Well, anything we want to say in our last 50 seconds? You've got the mic, my friend.
I have the mic?
Yep. What do you want to tell our viewers?
Keep drinking booze. We're all drinking wine. But you know, what would I say at this point? We're kind of drinking more here than we've ever consumed in our lives, to be honest, in my house. Good heavens.